Today we're taking a look at one of the most bizarre and downright ridiculous villains Spider-Man has ever faced. You'd think after battling Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and literal gods, the bar would be pretty high for what qualifies as a threat. But somehow, it isn't. Our story shifts to the financial district of New York City, where Spider-Man's next adversary emerges. Enter Flame War, a walking, talking cringe fest, who somehow concluded that the ultimate way to terrorize New York City was by stealing crypto wallet passwords and hurling flaming hashtags. Yes, you heard that right, hashtags on fire. This is the absurdity we're working with here. And let's talk about her costume for a second. It's like someone tried to make a Power Rangers villain but got distracted halfway through and decided to throw in a little cyberpunk cosplay. Seriously, she calls herself a supervillain? I've seen more intimidating costumes at a kid's birthday party, and poor Spider-Man. You know he had to be swinging around thinking, what in the actual hell is my life? The guy's been to space, fought alien invasions, and saved the multiverse, and now he's stuck dodging flaming emojis from a glorified Twitter troll. If there was ever a fight that made Spidey question his career choices, this is it. But while Peter's dealing with this circus act, there's something weighing heavy on his mind: the crime lord. Now that guy, legitimately terrifying. Just a few days ago, Crime Lord had Peter cornered, threatening him, Aunt May, and everything Peter holds dear. That's the kind of villain that keeps Spidey up at night. And now here he is, wasting time on Flame War and her flaming hashtags while the real threat looms in the background. When Spider-Man asked why she didn't have actual flames, Flame War admitted the Tinkerer couldn't rig her suit without it turning her into a human firework. She then tried to intimidate Spidey with, "You'll just be terminal. If cringe was a weapon, she'd finally be dangerous." And through all this ridiculousness, Peter's still managing to hold it together. But you know, in the back of his head, he's thinking about Aunt May. 6 days ago, in the quiet kitchen of their Forest Hills home, Peter tried to convince Aunt May to take a break from her work at the Feast Center. He pointed out how dangerous things had become there lately, referencing the chaos and his growing fear for her safety after Crime Lord's threats. Aunt May, however, was firm. She explained that the very danger Peter worried about was why she felt she needed to be there. People depended on her, she said, and she couldn't abandon them. Peter urged Aunt May to let other volunteers take over while she rested, reminding her that her health mattered just as much as her responsibility to others. She agreed reluctantly, but reminded Peter to prioritize the people who mattered most. Her words hit Peter deeply. He knew protecting her was his top priority, no matter how overwhelming it felt. Later in the kitchen, Aunt May spoke of a kind security guard who had once helped her, regretting not thanking him. She asked Peter to track him down, and he agreed, though his mind lingered on the crime lord's ominous implication that the man might already be gone. Peter tried to find comfort in the thought that May would be safer at home, away from the dangers of Feast, but he wasn't fooled. As long as someone knew his Spider-Man identity, his loved ones would never be truly safe. The burden weighed heavily on him, leaving him to wonder once again if gaining his powers had been more curse than blessing. But despite it all, he knew he couldn't stop. The scene shifted back to the chaos of Spider-Man's fight with Flame War. Her ridiculous threats and over-the-top lines were a sharp contrast to the heavy burden Peter carried. But even in the middle of absurdity, Spider-Man couldn't let his guard down, not with so much at stake. Flame War was in her element, throwing flaming hashtags and announcing their ability to cure FOMO. Clearly, she had mistaken Spider-Man for her target demographic. Spider-Man crouched, glaring up at Flame War. His plea for her to stop talking sounded less like a joke and more like genuine concern. At this rate, his headache might have been the real supervillain. Then came her masterpiece of mediocrity, the influencer Ray. Flame War presented it with all the flair of a third-rate magician, proudly claiming it could make anyone follow her commands. Spider-Man's silence spoke volumes, mostly about how far his faith in humanity had fallen. But he didn't have long to reflect on it, because Flame War went all in, attempting her dramatic exit strategy. Unfortunately for her, Peter Parker wasn't in the mood to let a D-list villain slip through his webbing, and with a quick thwip and some aerial acrobatics, Spidey wrapped up her latest tech monstrosity. As Flame War's defeat settled, the scene shifted sharply. From the chaos of battle to the looming facade of threats and menaces, Jonah Jameson's roar of "Parker!" echoed 5 days earlier, setting the stage for yet another tirade, with Peter firmly in his sides. Peter, rubbing his temple, muttered that it never gets old, though the tone made it clear it was long past its expiration date. Jameson demanded Parker step into his office immediately, shutting the door as if they were about to discuss state secrets. Peter tried to start with polite pleasantries, only for Jonah to bulldoze over him.
Since when did we exchange pleasantries, Parker? Spill it. I know you know something.
Peter's confusion only grew as Jonah brought up recent bombings, the Feast Center, ESU's lab, even Peter's own apartment building. Jonah, in full conspiracy mode, laid it all at Parker's feet, claiming only a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist like himself could connect the dots and figure out Peter was somehow involved. Peter, unfazed, casually reminded Jonah he never won the Pulitzer, a verbal pie to the face. Jameson shot back, blaming the oversight on the staff being recognized, just not him, of course. As tensions rose, Peter snapped, glaring at Jonah with frustration. He called out Jonah's obsession with blaming Spider-Man, saying it was hard to decide which was worse, blaming Spider-Man before knowing his secret or still doing it after. Jonah, ever the drama king, doubled down, accusing Peter of laughing at him behind his back for years while submitting those stupid pictures. Peter's patience hit its breaking point. "You know what, Jonah? This was a mistake," Peter snapped. "Coming here, checking up on you. It's the last time you'll see me." With that, he turned on his heel, ready to put Jonah and his conspiracy theatrics behind him for good. But Jonah, being Jonah, wasn't ready to let the conversation end.
Wait! That's not why I'm bringing this up. I'm just saying, maybe you owe me one, and maybe I'd like to collect.
Peter stopped mid-step, his eyes narrowing. "What do you want, Jonah?" The question came out as less of an inquiry and more of a challenge. Jonah leaned in, his mustache twitching with smugness.
Why, nothing more than to provide you with an exciting opportunity. I'm offering you a job.
The words hung in the air, dripping with Jonah's signature overconfidence. Whatever Peter's reaction might have been, it was left to the imagination. And just like that, the curtain closed on this chapter, leaving us all to wonder what kind of chaos will come next. Between Jonah Jameson's office antics and a social media-themed villain armed with hashtags and half-baked gadgets, it's safe to say, Spider-Man's week was anything but ordinary. We've seen Peter Parker juggle web-slinging, dodging Jonah's blame game, and trying to protect Aunt May, all while fighting villains who feel like they were pulled straight out of the bargain bin of evil plans. Flame War might have been laughable, but if there's one thing we know about Spidey's world, it's that the line between absurd and dangerous is razor thin. And Jonah? Well, offering Peter a job might just be the most chaotic twist of all. Because nothing screams healthy workplace dynamic like years of yelling and finger-pointing. So what's next for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? A new villain with a TikTok dance theme? Jonah asking Peter to write his memoir? Or maybe, just maybe, Peter catching a break? Okay, let's not get carried away. Tune in next time for more twists, more laughs, and of course, more chaos. Because with Spider-Man, the ridiculousness never ends. But here's a question to chew on. Was Flame War the worst villain Spidey's ever faced? Or does someone else hold that crown? Let me know your pick in the comments, and don't hold back. See you in the next one.